Good morning, Noblesville, Indiana. It is Monday, October 12th, 2020, and welcome to another edition of Mental Health Monday, an exciting one. I am joined once again by my good friend, Kristen Boyce, owners of Pathways to Healing, who's in a different location herself. Kristen, where are you?
I'm at Pathways to Healing Counseling today.
Awesome. She's out of her house and into her office today, so which is exciting. So we're glad to be with you. I am coming to you live from Amelia Island, Florida, because it is fall break. And if you follow along on social media, you'll know that I made a comment this morning, said that even though it's fall break, Kristen, I think you would agree that our mental health doesn't go away, and it's time to check in regardless of where we are. So I made that commitment. Kristen made that commitment to do it from wherever we're at. And actually, I think fall break, Kristen, you might agree or disagree, is a great time to take a time out and check on ourselves, correct?
Absolutely. It's
Yep.
important. We're really checking in with ourselves every day, and
Every day.
even on fall break.
Even on fall break. So we're so glad that you're joining us here today from wherever you are joining us from. Please take a minute, say hi in the comments, let us know you're watching. Of course, if you have any questions, we're happy to address those for you this morning as well. Anything goes, and it's an exciting time. Good morning, Curtis Honeycutt. I knew he'd be listening this morning and already said hi, so I appreciate that. So before we get started, we have some awesome topics to cover today. But before we get started, I know Kristen Boyce wants to lead us through an exercise that I do on a daily, multiple times a day basis, square breathing. Kristen, take it away.
Yes, how we open every Mental Health Monday is a self-care exercise that I recommend doing every hour. Square breathing. We inhale for 4, hold for 4, and slowly exhale out the mouth like you're cooling soup for 8. And that really lets us let go of any tension, tightness, stress, overwhelm, whatever we're experiencing in the moment. It releases out of our body so we're not carrying that around all day. I teach this to everybody I work with and recommend doing it, like I said, every hour to get started so we can retrain and cue the brain to when we feel a trigger, we breathe. When we have some tough, challenging times, we breathe. So let's do it together. We're going to inhale for 4 and then hold for 4 and release for 8. So feet on the floor, pressing into the floor, which kind of centers us into this present moment. Inhale through our nose. Exhale slowly out our mouths. And you'll notice with Chris and I, our shoulders dropping as we're releasing that tension or tightness. And if you ever see me in my house, you'll see a lot of deep breathings. I'm like, do you want calm, mom, or do you want crazy, mom? Calm or crazy, which one do you want? This is the way to calm ourselves down. So let's do it one more time. Inhale. Exhale and release. Let go. This is emotional wellness. We start by self-regulation, self-soothing, so then we can be the person we want to be for our loved ones, at work, at home. We feel more calm, we feel more centered. This is the first place to start when we're doing self-work.
I love it. And even though we're on fall break here, Kristen, sometimes that in itself has its own set of stressors with it. So we are, like I said, down here in Amelia Island in a condo with our 3 beautiful children. But even that moment in the nice, tight space here, we have been doing some square breathing already. We just got here yesterday. Actually, we were in the car yesterday for 14 hours. Let me tell you, square breathing going down the highway all day long. So we all know how that's
Did you
like.
drive straight through?
We drove straight through, man. We did. So we were working on our square breathing. It was great. In the midst of all the fits, we had some square breathing. So anyways, well, this is awesome. You know, Chris and I, not a day goes by now that somebody, probably not a week that goes by that somebody doesn't stop me and talk about Mental Health Monday and how important that's been to them, which is so awesome. So I was taking some self-assessment the other day about kind of what are the top things I've learned about from you, which I'm so appreciative. One of the biggest things I've learned about is about how our emotions, so anxiety, fear, depression, you name it, live in the body. That's something I've thought a lot about. So can you talk a little bit about that? And I just think I want to take a moment and reflect on that, because I think that is hugely helpful when we realize that it lives in us, and then maybe some ways to how we help it transform and remove itself from our body.
Yes, I think I love that you have taken that away from our talks. That just warms my heart.
Yep.
And I want to acknowledge that Saturday was World Mental Health Day, and I was on a
What?
crusade feeling like every day really needs to be a mental health day, not just
Mhm.
one day of the year, every day. And so emotions are critical to wellness. So when we can move through our emotions, they don't live in our body, they help build our immunity. And what we suppress and repress, which we learned a lot in our childhood, becomes depressed. So I will know if someone's feeling depressed that they've repressed all of their emotions. They haven't expressed them. So if we are not allowed to express them, we will become like almost a case of the blahs. So I'm hearing a lot of people just feeling, I feel like blah. I feel like I have no motivation. I just feel just blah, like almost numb. And the first thing I say is when we can connect to those emotions, which are the core emotions of sadness, fear, right? We also can get angry, disgust, joy, excitement, and sexual excitement, which was not in the Inside Out movie. What we do is then we're releasing that in the body to free ourselves. Just like emotions come and go, like you're at the beach right now, they're like waves. They
Mhm.
last about 90 seconds till the next one comes. If we're not expressing what goes on the inside, they linger. They feel like we're stuck in them. They feel like we're making zero headway. It's because we're not expressing them. We're not processing them. It's one of the most important pieces that I think we are not taught in childhood because it wasn't safe or okay to name our feelings, to let them out so we can have a felt sense of safety in our nervous system. We can then feel seen, known, acknowledged, understood, and loved. And right now, what I'm seeing a lot of is a lot of suppression, and we're looking to the outside to help us feel better. What I mean by that is we're drinking our feelings, we're eating our feelings, we're binge watching TV, we are on social media, we are avoiding instead of connecting to those core emotions, processing them, acknowledging them, holding space for them. When I think of self care, and this is going to sound really cheesy to some, self care is really about self love. If I really don't like myself, guess what? If I have that inner critic running in my head, all that shame that I'm not good enough, guilt and anxiety, I am not really loving myself well. I'm not reparenting myself and nurturing myself and treating myself maybe like I would my grandkid, maybe like I would my own children or whatever that is. I'm not treating myself very kindly. I'm feeling like a piece of crap. And so I'm not taking care of myself. And the first thing I teach is, and this is tough work, this isn't just easy work, is we've got to work through the shame of not feeling good enough and the guilt so we can get to taking care of ourselves and connecting to those emotions. That was a long-winded answer to your very clear question. Did that
No,
make sense?
that was so helpful. One thing that I grapple with, Kristen, because you hear it all the time, people who are struggling with anxiety or depression, and they may be laying in bed too much. They think that's the answer. They just need to sleep more. And we're sitting here telling them, hey, you know what? That stuff lives in your body. You gotta work through ways to get it out of your body. What do you tell somebody who if they're in that moment? They're just, I know I should get up and go for a walk on the beach, for example, but I'm just too tired. It's that inner head heart, battle going on. What's some advice we can tell them in that moment to maybe help them break through those thoughts?
Yeah, because let's face it, we all get that way. So
Right.
I don't want to dehumanize us and feel like I never had a day where I want to lay in bed. No, that would be doing it would be a sham because we all have days where you're like, I don't want to do anything today. I just want to lay in bed. Or it might take us every ounce of our being to get out of bed, to get showered or even eat. So I want to make sure we're not setting up unrealistic, dehumanized expectations. The first thing I start with is what are you feeling? What are you feeling? Name the feelings. Again, those core emotions that we've talked about probably so much. Hopefully, people are starting to internalize them. I'm feeling sad. Okay, let's hold space for that sadness. We've got to go through it in order to get to the other side. If I try to move away from it by, social mediaing myself, getting on the news, watching the news, eating, going in the pantry and starting to eat a bag of potato chips or whatever's there, if I start drinking my feelings, then guess what's going to happen? Now I'm feeling even more depressed. So the first thing is name the feeling. Let's name it, to tame it, to process it, to get it out. Second thing, I'm going to take a deep breath, connect to your body. Say, where am I feeling that feeling in my body? Okay, I'm feeling really heavy in my shoulders. Maybe you feel it in your stomach. Maybe your head hurts. Go, what is that trying to tell me? What am I sad about? What am I scared about? Because right now, that's the two emotions I'm seeing a lot. Obviously, anger and disgust are a huge part too. Really underneath all that is a lot of fear. And a lot of sadness. So what is it that's really going on for me? And what do I need to get out, talk about, write about, process, maybe talk to a professional about, so I feel supported? Maybe it's reaching out to a friend. Social isolation right now is playing a huge role with our teens. This is the highest suicidal rate I've ever seen in my career. This is the most hospitalizations. I mean, St. Vincent Stress Center was full last week. We're seeing the highest rate of depression that I've seen in my career. And that's because people are more isolated, so they're not getting that social connection. They feel hopeless. They feel helpless. And so my first invitation to people is, let's acknowledge what you're feeling. Let's not pretend like it's not there, because when you push it down, you're not going to want to get out of bed. You're not going to want to move. The second thing is, if you can get up, connect with your pet, go for a walk, even when you don't want to. Let's just put it out there. You're not going to be like, yay, every day I'm going to go for it. No, we want to stay in bed. We don't feel like it. Hold some self-compassion. This is really hard for people. Our inner critic runs the show and tells us what a piece of crap we are a lot of the time, or what we're not good enough. And, look at those people on Facebook and Instagram. They look like they're not depressed. They look like they have it all together. I'm like, no, we've got to stop doing the comparison game, start having some grace and compassion for ourselves, and start connecting emotionally. Reach out to somebody for support. There's a lot of options right now to reach out for support. That's the main thing I'm telling people is call a friend, do a FaceTime. If you feel safe, go outside, connect with somebody, tell them what's going on. Vulnerability is hard for us. We are scared to do vulnerability because we're scared of rejection, judgment, and abandonment. So we're hiding. And I'm like, the minute you bring it to the light, you're starting to free yourself and heal yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary. And I know people are like, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I'm like, no, we're all feeling emotion right now. Let's not pretend like we're not. Let's talk about it. That's my main thing right now I'm seeing.
Well, and that's one thing. First of all, to acknowledge that it's hard. That's not easy to do, what Christian just said. And then also, just to acknowledge that everyone's going through stuff right now. Everyone has emotions going on inside. So do not feel alone in this process. And we know that it's nervous in a time of social distancing. But, you can go meet a friend for a cup of coffee in one of our beautiful parks in Noblesville. Forest Park is full all the time right now, which is awesome. Full in the way that there are people sitting on benches and enjoying space. Get outside and meet a friend for a cup of coffee somewhere. Go for a walk. You'll never know who you'll meet or touch along the way, which is awesome. So I want to transition and talk a little bit about self-care. People throw that term around a lot right now, Kristen, which is great, but I want to get to the root of it and understand what it is from your perspective. I know if you're asking a layperson what self-care is, it's genuinely knowing what my needs and wants and feelings are and acknowledging them and doing things to help better them would be my amateur hour definition of that. I'm sure there's a great definition that you actually have that's right. So obviously self-care is going to be focused on these next couple of weeks as Noblesville schools is in fall break. Other school systems are going to be taking different timeouts here these next couple of weeks to allow for kind of a reset. So can we talk about what is self-care? How do we acknowledge, that we need self-care, and then ideas for self-care? And how many times can I say the word self-care? There you
That's
go.
because we're really emphasizing how important self-care is. So I love it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
your definition was good. It was
Okay.
excellent, Chris.
All right.
You're
All
genuine.
right. You
I'm
went,
very
you went to school for this. You probably have a better one, but
Well, first of all, I want to debunk the myth that self-care is selfish. So that's the first thing I hear a lot is I don't want to be selfish. I don't want people to think I'm selfish. And the first thing I can say is you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot give what you do not have. And so if I am not taking care of my needs, I am not going to be able to meet the needs of anybody else. So we have to connect with what am I needing? And this is a hard one. This is hard for couples because I'm like, well, what do you need? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, then you're wanting him or her to meet that need, and they don't know if you don't know. So the first thing is connecting emotionally. I'm going to go here because it's emotional wellness is self-care. Emotional wellness is self-care. So if I'm connecting emotionally, I'm taking care of myself and I can start meeting my needs. So let's say I'm not eating right. That might be a need now I'm going to focus on how am I going to take care of myself in a healthy way. Maybe I'm not taking care of myself physically. I've just kind of neglected myself. So what could be the one thing that I'll commit to for 5 minutes a day? And it might be I go for a walk for 5 minutes a day. I might do a little bit of yoga in my home for 5 minutes a day. I might do what I'm physically able to do to take care of myself physically. The number one thing I want to emphasize, self-care has to be connecting emotionally. Because then we can learn how to fill and process our tank up, and then I can give it out to other people. So if I'm not offering empathy to myself, I can offer empathy to other people. It's not going to land the same when I fully am learning how to empathize with myself and offer myself grace and compassion. Then I can offer my children grace and compassion easier. I can offer my friends grace and compassion easier. And if I'm judging myself, guess what's going to come out of my mouth? Judgment, because I'm in shame. I'm feeling not good enough. So now I'm going to judge others. So self-care is really about learning to connect emotionally. Breathing is number one strategy in self-care. If you do nothing else from our talks and you learn to take those deep breaths, that's self-care. That's saying, oh, I'm connected to my body. I realize I'm triggered. I'm going to take care of myself and self-soothe by breathing. So self-care is about nurturing those unmet needs that we didn't get maybe fulfilled in childhood, because guess what? There's no such thing as perfect parents. And we learn then to meet those needs ourselves. We learn how to emotionally be that emotionally supportive parent that maybe just didn't have it to give. I'm going to give it to myself now. Then I can offer that up to other people rather than coming through with criticism, judgment, blame, shame, avoidance, shutdown, withdrawing. I'm going to lean in because I can tolerate it. I can handle it. And now I can give out what I've given myself because my tank is full. When I'm running on empty, guess what? Are we really giving out much? No, because I'm in survival. I'm barely making it through. I'm in survival. And that's okay too. We don't want to make that wrong or bad. We want to go, oh, that means I probably need to check in emotionally and physically and see what I'm feeling in my body to begin to breathe and nurture myself in the moment. It's really each moment is all we have. If we're in the past, we're in depression. If we're in the future, we're in anxiety. We can be in both. And I'm not really in the present. And so just holding that space to take a deep breath, come back to the present moment, take care of myself by being kind to myself. This is super hard for people. How hard is it for us to be kind to ourselves? We're constantly beating ourselves up.
we're our own worst critic, right? All the time. So what I hear you saying is that you can just go say self care is not just, hey, you know what, I'm just going to play a round of golf today with some buddies, or I'm going to go get a massage. That's part of it. But what you're saying is we have to do a little bit more work and identify that emotion and identify our feeling first before we come to maybe a better conclusion to help us deal with that. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, because I think playing golf is awesome. Will
Yeah.
it be a temporary hit? Probably. A massage is fantastic because we're dealing with that nervous system in our body. And then we go back into our stressful situation, and I'm not really taking care of myself again. So it
Mhm.
really is a continuous thing. I'm going to play golf and take care of myself. And in the moment, I'm going to recognize what I'm feeling, acknowledge it, and process it. So then I can have healthy connections at home. If I'm just waiting for the next massage in between, what I'm going through, I'm not really taking care of myself. Massages are awesome. Golfing's awesome. Going to play with, meeting a friend, that's all self-care stuff. I'm going to the next layer. How do we give it to ourselves in the moment? How
Yep.
do I take care of myself in the moment and nurture myself and be that idealized parent that I hoped I'd have? Because we're humans, there's no such thing. Then what I can do is I can offer that up not only to myself, then I have plenty to give to other people. When my tank's low, guess what? I want the kids to go to bed, please, and I don't have it to give. And that's my invitation to do some really filling myself up. And so that looks like deep breathing. That might look like journaling, going for a walk, playing with the dog, prayer, meditation, things that are really helpful to recenter. So self-care is recentering, re-energizing, reclaiming yourself. And when we're depleted, we're not really doing any of that. I'm not grounded. I'm not centered. I'm not responding. I'm reactive. I'm highly triggered. I'm irritable. I'm annoyed. Everything's bothering me because I'm running on empty. So
Yeah.
it's that really kind of is a continuous process. And it requires us to have a high level of awareness of what's going on with myself in the moment.
Yeah, one thing I wrote down that I love: you cannot give what you do not have. I think that is a key takeaway today. That was correct, right? I did say it
Yes, you
correctly.
said it
Okay,
beautifully. Yes.
that's a great line. I cannot give what I do not have. So again, I'm telling you that self care is awesome and so important, but there's also other layers there that we've got to work through to make us even better long term. It's not just a quick fix that so many of us are looking for. I know at times. So make sure you identify those emotions and then lead yourself towards that self care. So last topic I want to hit on, Kristen, because it's very timely. We're in the midst of a obviously global pandemic and a lot going on. We're in the middle of we're 3 weeks now to an election that has some strong emotions behind it. As you can imagine, I've seen a lot of anger. Can we talk just briefly about anger, whether you have it or maybe your friends have it, and kind of how to help, some quick tips for us to help process that anger in us and maybe others as well?
First of all, I love how you said to process.
I'm getting good.
I'm like, yay! This is
Getting there.
it. First of all, we all have anger. It's a core emotion. It's when does it become a rage, which moves into a defense and covers up what's really underneath, which is a lot of fear. Okay. And a lot of grief. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of grief and a lot of fear that needs to be processed. So, first of all, we all have anger, and a lot of us are scared of it because maybe it was not safe. Maybe it was a rage situation in our childhood that became very scary. That anger it wasn't a safe emotion. Anger can be adaptive when we use it for positive change, right? When we're using it to mask, cover up, and really decenter us. So now I'm highly reactive, I'm highly emotional. Guess who's going to listen to me? Nobody, because I'm not centered. What we want to do is protect ourselves from people that are highly activated. So the first thing I'm teaching people is notice if someone has anger, notice your nervous system and take a deep breath, feel your feet on the floor, because you don't want to match them in your reactivity. Because guess what's going to happen? Nothing. You guys are going to go round and round the mulberry bush, and it's not going to be a pleasant experience for anybody. First thing is regulate yourself. The second thing is acknowledge what fear you might have that's coming up for you, because that's normal. We're all going to have fears. And then the third thing is if we could all learn to self-soothe, because what's happening is nobody's listening. So if someone's highly activated, they're really angry, we're not listening anymore. We've turned ourselves off. And guess what? It's like a kind of like a war zone. We're like my side, your side, and we're all self-protecting. We're all defensive, and we're all ready for the next shoe to drop and the next comeback we're going to say, and the next reason why that person's wrong or bad or whatever. When we can say, I feel really scared when you get angry like that, I want to shut down and I feel really disconnected from you. Look how I'm communicating is so different. I'm not coming back with a rage response. I'm not coming back with a you always, you never, you da 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 da. I'm coming back with an I feel statement. It doesn't mean the other person's going to go, oh, kumbaya. Okay, it doesn't mean that. What it means is I can live with myself because I'm coming from a very centered place. I'm not coming from a highly reactive place, and I'm trying to listen to understand. I'm offering empathy, and I am deciding I'm not going to respond in the same way. And I might be able to be heard a little bit more. It doesn't mean they're going to change their mind, and it might not be they hear me, but my intention is to be integrated, secure, and empathic in how I live my life. Anger can take us off center. When someone gets highly enraged, what do we want to do? Protect ourselves. And the last thing I want to say about it is when we take things personally, when someone's coming at us personally, we want to protect ourselves. And so if we start coming at people personally, this is where personal attacks create such a division. When we can use an I feel statement, again, I'm reiterating myself, but it's so important. We can have healthier relationships and change the conversation. We're all struggling right now. We're all in the midst of this political climate, pandemic. We're all struggling right now. And if we don't learn to talk about our feelings, we are not going to work through this struggle. We're not going to work through it. So if I don't talk about my sadness and my fear and my grief and my anger and in a healthy way, we're not going to work through this. That's why I'm on a crusade for mental health, because we're in a mental health crisis right now. We are absolutely in a mental health crisis. People don't have coping skills. They don't know how to work through it. That's why I love that you're doing this. And we're doing this and hopefully be able to create a felt sense of safety on how to navigate this hard time, how to have hard conversations and work through anger, shame, and guilt, really.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you're right. We are in the middle of a mental health crisis. I see it all the time with 911 calls that I see come in, and that's why we're going to continue doing this every other week and to into the future, because it's so important. And I just want to say personally, thank you again, Kristen, because I'm not doing it. You're doing it. I'm just hosting it. So I appreciate your time. This is awesome material. If someone is in a mental health crisis, if they are at their wits' end, if you know someone that is, what options do we have for folks right now that need help immediately?
There are options. So first of all, please call 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-TALK. That is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And that is my number one resource. If in the minute, you don't know how to help someone's suicidal, they're saying they don't want to be here, call the number. They will help walk you through on what to do. The second thing is we have Prevail here. If you're in a domestic crisis and of any kind, they have a 24/7 hotline, 317-776-3472. If you don't want to talk on the phone, you can text 741-741 and type connect. They will text you back and forth and help you through this. The other piece that we have the National Disaster Distress Helpline at 1-800-985-5990. And then the overdose hotline. Right now, I know addictions are running rampant. That's 211. And then we have Community North. We have Eskenazi. We have St. Vincent Stress Center. I know those are all fairly full right now. And if someone is suicidal, please know that to take them there. You also can do a 911 wellness check. If you're worried about somebody and they're not answering their phone or you can't get a hold of them, that's another resource and option. And then for therapy, there's therapists all across the board offering telehealth right now. I highly recommend reaching out to someone, and also the universities. So you have Indiana Wesleyan offering free therapy, Christian Theological Seminary offering free therapy. So there are resources out there. Please know this is an invitation to have some support in your walk, in your journey. You do not have to do this alone. You matter, you're important, you're enough. You're loved. I know you don't want to believe that sometimes because the shame takes us down into the dark abyss. When we reach out for help, that's the first step. And we decide maybe one thing on this mental health Monday that you're going to do. Maybe it's the breathing. Maybe you're going to learn to connect to emotions. Maybe you're going to journal. Maybe you're going to walk, pet your dog more, whatever that looks like. Reach out to a friend on a daily basis and check in with them. Take one thing and try to make that change between now and when we meet again, and tell us how it goes. Tell us what it's like. Because if you make one change, that's making a difference in your life, and that's self-care.
All I can say is amen. That was awesome, Kristen. But yes, you're right. Take a step today and let us know that. Share it with somebody. That's what we're here to do. So we will be back in 2 weeks on a live Mental Health Monday on Monday. But in the meantime, Kristen, I know you guys are going on a little vacation. We're down at the beach. I know a lot of folks all over Noblesville are just enjoying a little self-care time during the fall break. So do that, but understand why you need that. Identify with your emotions, and everybody stay safe this week. So thanks again, Kristen.
Thank you, Mayor Jensen.